Welcome to Turbo. Tonight's main event sees the cleaner Kenny Omega go one-on-one with the Ministry's Buddy Murphy. Plus, the Destroyer Bobby Lashley is in action as he takes on the high-flying South African PJ Black. And our opening contest is women's division action as the debuting Riho goes one-on-one with the Ministry's newest recruit, Rosemary. And in the ring right now, all the way from Japan, Riho is smiling here in her NLW debut, but I don't think she's going to be smiling towards the end of this match, because her opponent is The Undertaker's newest recruit, Rosemary, the Mistress of Macabre, and she is flanked by fellow Ministry member Christian. This group of evil misfits, underutilized talent that The Undertaker has cultivated. He's created an army around himself. In fact, Pentagon Jr. came back to try and help Undertaker rid Chris Jericho, but he failed in his task. And that was when Pentagon's brother, Rey Fenix, made his debut, making the save, and the Lucha Brothers are now in NLW, and it appears as though Pentagon Jr. has separated himself from the Ministry. That will not please The Undertaker. But what will please The Undertaker is if Rosemary is able to beat Riho here tonight. And Christian is at ringside to make sure that happens, as Riho gets a boot in the face. If there's anybody you don't want to face in your debut, it's Rosemary, but Riho holding her own with a chop right there. And of course, Buddy Murphy, another Ministry member, will be in action later tonight against Kenny Omega, who The Undertaker has had a well-storied past with after losing to Omega inside Hell in a Cell several months ago, as Rosemary makes the cover on Riho with a kick out. And there you see Christian at ringside. Chris Jericho called Christian a loser, and that prompted Christian to be recruited by The Undertaker, who saw something in Christian, as he has Rosemary, who is a former women's champion here in this company, and for good reason, as she chokes out Riho. And she's all the way from Tokyo, Japan. She's got an extensive Joshi background. Blocks the kick and hits a drop kick, does Riho. And Rosemary in trouble with a Tiger Fate kick from Riho, who runs to the top rope with a double foot stomp from the top, in for the cover, but a kick out from Rosemary. And what a victory it would be for Riho. The first ever women's match here on Turbo. Running with the knees in the face. Christian checking over Rosemary. Now Riho on the top rope. And a crystal clear, perfect tope. More like a crossbody onto both Christian and Rosemary. And back in now, Riho with a Tiger suplex. That Snapdragon suplex, it was more of a variation as Riho runs off the ropes, and a spear from Rosemary. Rosemary cutting Riho in half. And now going for a German suplex, but a victory roll into the stomp. Riho pulling out all the stops here. And now Riho, crossbody caught, and right into the Red Wedding. Dropped right on her face, and Rosemary picks up the victory. Well, Riho coming here to NLW with a flurry of innovative offense. However, it was Rosemary of the Ministry who walks away with a victory. We'll take a look again. Rosemary had a lot of power in her arsenal as Riho just tried to get any advantage she could, including the knees and then the crossbody onto both Christian and Rosemary. However, Riho was cut in half with a spear, then the crossbody caught by Rosemary and dropped right on her skull for the Red Wedding. Well, The Undertaker will be somewhere watching this with an evil grin on his face, because his newest recruit just scored a big-time victory over one of Japan's finest, Rosemary, with the win. The women's division looking strong here on NLW Turbo. Still got some exciting matches to come tonight, but man oh man, what a bombshell that went down on NLW episode 92. A few weeks ago, the Undisputed Era demanded that Stone Cold Steve Austin was fired from his job as commissioner. And what does Austin do? He sprays them down with beer, of course he does, but this was just the straw that broke the camel's back as the EVP of NLW Triple H decided that Austin was unfit for the role of NLW Commissioner, and he would appoint a new person to the position. Austin was understandably unhappy about this and decided to destroy the arena. And I think that he thought, like we all did, that his days in NLW were numbered. That was until last week when Austin came down to the ring to congratulate the man who filled his shoes as commissioner, and we were all shocked to learn that the new NLW commissioner is none other than the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, back in NLW once again. HBK is the new sheriff in town, and he said that Stone Cold Steve Austin would be signed to NLW as a performer, which made a lot of people happy, including Austin. However, at the time, Austin was still technically commissioner, so in his final act, delivered a Stone Cold Stunner to Shawn Michaels. And I'll be honest, I can't say it wasn't deserved, Shawn Michaels putting salt in the wounds, but despite that, it's going to be very interesting to see how the showstopper runs NLW. Meanwhile, the commissioner on Metal, he's having problems of his own. He's also on a probationary period set by Triple H. To give the fans the most excitement and value for money, he booked an Elimination Chamber match for our next pay-per-view, Metal Ungovernable, where Edge, Shinsuke Nakamura, John Morrison, Drew McIntyre, Samoa Joe, and Tetsuya Naito will battle for the Metalweight Championship. This could go several different ways. You got Morrison, who's got pinfall victory over the champion, Samoa Joe, who's just returned from a suspension and is hunting Naito. Then again, Naito, he's been trying to get out of this match with his lawyers, usually manages to pull out a victory out of the bag, so we'll see what he brings to the table. You've also got Drew McIntyre and Nakamura getting into scuffles recently, and then there's Edge, who is aptly nicknamed the Ultimate Opportunist. He tried to seek help from Kurt Angle to help him eliminate some of the other competitors inside the Elimination Chamber. Angle, however, was not interested, so Edge then went to Jon Moxley to see if he was interested, and it seems as if Mox was up for it. Moxley, who's been embroiled in a bitter rivalry with Kurt Angle recently, decided to help Edge beat the gold medalist on Metal this past week, and then in the main event, Edge went on to help Moxley defeat Drew McIntyre after Shinsuke Nakamura interfered off of the distraction. Angle did get a measure of revenge though after the match, but what is the relationship between Edge and Jon Moxley? Edge says he will give Moxley a title match if he helps him, so we'll see if that materialises. What's going to happen between Angle and Moxley at the pay-per-view, and what's going to happen inside of the chamber, find out at Ungovernable. It's going to be a hell of a pay-per-view. Coming up for Metal, Ungovernable comes your way live, Part 1, April 10th. And available in full right now on Patreon. The link is in the description. Sign up for $3. Get the whole show right now. And right now, Bobby Lashley is ready for one-on-one competition. But at Ungovernable, he will be competing in a hardcore fatal 4-way, stemming from this battle royal and the ongoing problems between Brody Lee and Rhino. These four men were brawling throughout the arena this past week, and that led the commissioner to come out and announce a huge hardcore return for the Hardcore Championship. And the winner of this fatal 4-way at Ungovernable, Rhino, Brody, Lashley and Braun, they will fight to decide who will be the new NLW Hardcore Champion. And Lashley wants to send a message to everyone else in that match right now against PJ Black, and PJ thrown across the ring with ease. The power of Lashley on display. Once again picking up the South African, who immediately out of the gate, Lashley is just destroyed. And he's saying, is that all he's got? But now PJ Black with a kick and the discus and another martial arts kick off the ropes. But Lashley catches him with a power slam. Lashley, there's a reason they call him the Destroyer. He has unbridled strength. And right now, lifting PJ with a vertical suplex. Minoru Suzuki, who's been the mentor of Bobby Lashley recently, not in attendance here tonight. He's got some business to attend to over in Japan. But you bet he'll be there at Ungovernable for the hardcore title match. And PJ Black, he got caught in midair, but turned it into a tornado DDT. And a springboard moonsault. PJ Black with the upset, maybe no. A kick out from Lashley. And now Bobby on his feet, and PJ went for an attack, but he got caught out by Lashley. And that brutal spine buster. And I like the looks of this for PJ Black. Cut in half with a spear. And picked up with ease for the Dominator. Hooks the outside leg, and Bobby Lashley going to pick up the victory here tonight on Turbo. Lashley with a dominant performance against the South African. Is that the same level of intensity we can expect from him at Ungovernable? I have no doubt that he'll bring his all for the hardcore title, and just look at what he did to poor PJ Black here. Absolutely decimated him. PJ though, he came back with some interesting high-flying offense, but that was not enough as Lashley continued to use the power to his advantage, cutting PJ in half and then delivering the Dominator for the victory. Well, he is in a lot of pain, as will the other competitors in the Fatal 4-Way Hardcore title match at Ungovernable. Will Bobby Lashley be leaving the pay-per-view as Hardcore Champion? Now, before we have our main event, we have to address the situation between the Hardy Boys, because it seems like they are no more. On episode 91 of NLW, the Insane Deletion match, the final confrontation between Matt Hardy and Sanity, which has gone on for months, ended when Jeff Hardy came back. We thought he was going to help his brother, but instead threw his childhood friend the Hurricane into a volcano, assaulted his own brother, and left him laying. The ultimate betrayal from Jeff Hardy. Since he became Mr. Money in the Bank, we've seen this transformation over the past few months. Jeff has become more arrogant, he's become more vicious, and at the Insane Deletion, we found out what kind of man he truly is. On episode 92 of NLW, he gave us an explanation as to why he did what he did at the Hardy compound. He said he is the Antichrist of professional wrestling, that he is Mr. Money in the Bank, and he does not care about Matt Hardy. In Jeff's view, Matt is holding him back. All that matters is that the charismatic Enigma says he is Mr. Money in the Bank, and he can become NLW champion anytime he wants. And let's talk about the NLW title scene. There's a lot of factors surrounding it at the moment. You have the champion, Daniel Bryan. He was defending his championship against a variety of challengers. You have the man who's arguably the number one contender in Kenny Omega. Omega and Bryan seem to be the top two stars in NLW right now and are on a collision course for a title match, but then you got the wild card, Kevin Owens, who returned to NLW after being drafted. He's been going on a tear, going through the likes of Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, even the champion himself, Daniel Bryan. Owens is banking on the fact that Omega and Bryan are going to destroy each other, as we saw several weeks ago on episode 90. Omega confronted Bryan in a heated exchange, then the very next week on NLW, Kevin Owens went up to Daniel Bryan in the locker room and fessed up, said, "I'm not here to be your friend, and I will do anything to take the title away from you." Owens is willing to give Bryan a word of warning, but we'll have to wait and see who will be the number one contender. With all of this going on in the NLW title scene, you wonder, where does Buddy Murphy fit into all of this? After all, he is a member of the Ministry who have been targeting Kenny Omega for months on end. We thought it had ended at Hell in a Cell, but I've been hearing rumblings that The Undertaker personally demanded this match happen. This is a test for Buddy Murphy, and let's not forget the factor of Bayley at ringside. We'll talk about that whole story in a moment. But for now, are you ready for this? I hear the battle cry, and under the devil's sky, here comes the cleaner, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega competing in his first match since Hell in a Cell against The Undertaker, all the way back at Enter the Dragon in December. And you know, as does Buddy Murphy, that a win here tonight for him not only would put him in good standing for an NLW title match, but would also make The Undertaker very happy. And this huge Turbo main event is underway. As we said before, Kenny Omega has a storied past with The Undertaker, dating back to Hell in a Cell, and looking to end it early, but Buddy Murphy reverses him. And since Hell in a Cell and the loss to Omega, The Undertaker has been trying to recruit as many people as possible to his ministry faction, including Buddy Murphy, who gets German suplexed. And you know what? I would say I had Murphy figured out and what he wants, but now you've got Bayley at ringside. Look at that. Huge DDT and a running brainbuster from Buddy Murphy in for the cover, but a kick out from Omega. And once again, we talk about Bayley. Buddy Murphy actually saved Bayley from an attack from Sanity a few weeks ago. We don't quite know why, but it has something to do with their past. After all, they came up in the wrestling business together, did Murphy and Bayley, about 10 years ago in the Performance Center. So they go back a long way. So perhaps Murphy, I don't know, sees something in Bayley, that long-time friendship there. Although there is a massive contrast between the people that Murphy hang out with, that being the Ministry of Darkness, and The Undertaker, and, well, Bayley's huggable demeanour. But right now, Murphy looking for Murphy's Law, and it's Kenny Omega with a poison spike Rana. Buddy Murphy on the outside, holding his head. Look out for the rise of the Terminator. Kenny Omega flying over the top, wiping out Murphy. And Kenny Omega with a win here tonight would get one step closer to the NLW title, you believe. Although there's also what we talked about earlier, the wild card of Kevin Owens there. Otherwise, Omega probably would be the #1 contender right now. And as we see, Shawn Michaels is now at the helm of NLW. Will Omega get a title match he wanted? Maybe not after that knee and a Kamigoye. In for the cover, but Omega somehow kicks out. As Bayley wills on her friend Buddy Murphy. And a super kick from Murphy. That rocked Omega. Now Murphy on the top rope. Look out! V-trigger right to the face. And now Omega with a second V-trigger to the side of the skull. And now drops it with a one-winged angel. And Kenny Omega picks up the win over Buddy Murphy. This match was fought at such a frantic pace, and you can see the concern on Bayley's face. She may not like the people that Murphy hangs out with now, but she certainly doesn't want to see him get hurt. As we take a look at the replay of this awesome main event, some innovative offense from Buddy Murphy. The Murphy's Law turned into a Poison Rana, then the rise of the Terminator. Murphy, though, came back with his own bicycle knee and a Kamigoye. He went off the top for the Meteora, got caught with a V-trigger and again another one to the side of the skull, and that allowed Kenny Omega to hit the one-winged angel. Nobody kicks out of it, and Buddy Murphy found that out firsthand. Well, Bayley and Buddy Murphy, their friendship remains intact, but I don't think that The Undertaker's going to be happy with that performance, as Kenny Omega picks up a huge win here tonight on Turbo and is another victory closer to the NLW Championship.